Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Lowdown. Today I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by the assistant coach and analyst for HALLESCHER'S FC, Max Bergmann. Max made headlines this year when he became one of the youngest coaches in German football history to coach again, as he took charge of the club's third division clash against Onnsbruck. Max, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Max, I suppose just showing the passion and the love you have for your job. You just after telling me, although you're back from the holidays, you spent more than half your holiday working on incoming and outgoing transfers over the close season. Football really is 24/7.
Yeah, definitely it is. We are quite a small club here in Germany, so we do not have several scouts. We've got one scout scouting several leagues, not only in Germany, but also in Netherlands, Austria, Switzerland, and so on. But obviously he cannot scout all the players. So we in the coaching staff try to help and try to also scout, try to look at the players and see whether they can help us.
And I suppose that paves its way, or it lends its hands rather to creative guys like you coming on board, working within all those different constraints. But that the present is something which we'll touch upon during the show, Max. But just to throw it back to where it all began, and as we begin with every guest that comes on the show, we ask them, what was your earliest football memory?
I think it was in 2004, because I was born in Bremen, Werder Bremen. Maybe some of you know the club, back in the Bundesliga in the upcoming season, and they won the Bundesliga in 2004, and that was one of my first memories because I was in the city, and the city was full of Werder Bremen fans celebrating the victory and becoming champions in Germany, and that was something really special because we've got several clubs in Germany, especially Bayern Munich, winning a lot of titles. But for Werder Bremen, it was something really special, and that is one of my first memories. And it was spectacular with all the people that enjoyed this victory.
And unfortunately for both Bremen and yourself, they haven't reached such heights in quite a while. But I mean, for you, Max, I mean, how early did you come into the coaching and analyst scene?
Well, I started with coaching being 18 years old. I did my A-level, and after that I was thinking about what to do next, and I didn't want to start right away with my studies. So I decided to coach. I was working as a climbing coach in Laos for a while, and also working as a football coach, but doing a rather young team. I think they were like 8 and 9 years old. And after that, I decided I should definitely start my coaching licenses here in Germany because I really enjoyed coaching. And that's where I met one of the coaches in my hometown club. And he asked me if I would like to take over his team, which was a youth B team. So 16 and 17-year-old boys at that time. And that's where I definitely started coaching at a higher level with older players, and I was 19 at that point, so that's where it really started. And I was always challenged with the task of coaching players that were not really that much younger than me.
And was coaching something you always knew you would go into?
Well, it always was something that I really enjoyed because I felt that I could teach players something, but communicating with the players was also very important for me, and something that I really enjoyed, not only teaching in a way that we learned in school, but rather communicating with the players on eye level and trying to get better as a team, as a unit. That was something I really enjoyed.
And for those of you that are listening to the podcast that have engaged with Max's stuff in the past, they probably came in touch with yourself the same way I did, Max, coming across your videos on YouTube, which, to be honest, at the time were quite, I wouldn't say revolutionary, but they were quite out there in terms of the tactical concepts which you went into, and they were kind of neat with the visuals you had on them. I mean, was that something off your own back, geared towards your own education, or at the time, did you perhaps have an audience in mind with who those videos were geared towards?
Well, Well, the beginning of those videos was when I coached, and I definitely wanted to get a deeper understanding of the tactical side of things. And that's where I started writing tactical analysis pieces for Total Football Analysis. And those articles were quite interesting, but I thought it would be a lot easier for people to understand in a video with animations and with explanations of how tactical things happen on the pitch. And that's when I started doing the YouTube channel for Total Football Analysis. And yeah, it really made a lot of fun doing these tactical analysis videos.
And was it the case, Max, over the years of writing more tactical analysis pieces and producing more videos equated to a better understanding of the game? Is it that simple?
Well, I think it's all about watching a lot of football and trying to analyze pieces or analyze games for yourself, but also reading a lot of analysis pieces. I definitely learned a lot from football Twitter, where different people have different opinions about football tactics. And one really interesting point is that, in my opinion, there's no right or wrong. There are observations of tactical patterns, and you cannot see something right or wrong. It's just about being more effective than the other side in the way you want to play. And that's why I think you can always learn from other people as well. So writing on your own and also reading a lot of stuff and communicating with others in the game is really important in order to improve on the tactical details in football.
Of course, and you're saying there's no right or wrong way of looking at a game. I suppose there can only be one wrong way if you're looking at the game, and that's being a fan of Werder Bremen. But obviously, you can watch the game. You can watch the game being a fan. You can watch the game being an analyst in your current capacity. I mean, if you're watching a game in your current job, what exactly are you looking for throughout the game?
Well, it depends. Most of the time I watch games in our league in order to prepare for our next match, meaning that I look at the tactical patterns during the build-up. I look how another team tries to apply pressure within the first pressing line, how the defense works, which formation they play. Although the formation is always one of the last things, it's rather about do they really want to attract a lot of pressure or not? And all these tactical things that the opponent tries to do on the pitch are things that we want to use for us in order to play the way we want to play against the opponent. Meaning, if we really want to build out from the back, we definitely have to have a structure that allows us to build up from the back. Either the opposition presses with 2 players, so we try to create a way to have 3 players, which is not always a line of 3, but maybe sometimes a triangle, and all these kind of things that help us in order to play our own game and try to dominate the game.
And in a German third division, do you notice any perhaps familiar trends? Or even perhaps, Max, is there quite a variance in the styles you could be coming up against on a weekly basis?
Well, it's different. We got a lot of teams playing in a very solid way, at least in the third tier of Germany, meaning they've got a lot of players in the back line in order to provoke with only a few players long balls, because obviously the third tier is not technically versatile as the first league. But we definitely had some teams here in Germany in the third tier as well, who really try to play out from the back, who really try to play short passes. And you also have a great variety in terms of playing in the last third. We've got, for example, Zwickau here in the third tier, who play really a lot of crosses in the league, which is really difficult to defend. So there are definitely different styles in every single league in Germany.
And on that point, in terms of your current day role? Obviously, you're not only analysing for games, you're also working on the transfer side of things. I mean, what exactly is the role of a modern day analyst in a football club?
Well, I think it somehow depends. Of course, there are bigger clubs who have several analysts and several coaches. For me, I personally like to work on the analysis side of things in a very practical way, in terms of I also am on the pitch in every training session. I'm rather an assistant coach with a focus on analysis, I would say, and I really try to obviously try to analyze the things in order to also improve our training sessions. Things we can work on during the training sessions in order to improve our style of play. And I think for modern analysts, it's really important not just to analyze the formation of a team or how they press or how they build up from the back, but really also how to implement certain tactical principles. And that is something I think which is really important for a modern analyst.
And it's very interesting because you speak about your workload, and for me, Max, it's quite varied. And I think those of which who are involved in football listening to the pod would actually agree with too. But in a funny way, perhaps you wouldn't really get that wide range in a apprenticeship at a quote unquote perhaps bigger club in the Bundesliga.
Absolutely, and that's why I also like working in this club here, because I've got a lot of different tasks here, not only working on the training pitch, but also doing the video analysis, the opposition analysis, and also watching some of our players doing individual analysis. And obviously that's a wide range of tasks, but with every task you can also improve, and that's something I really like about it, definitely. And that's why I personally think that working as an analyst doesn't have to be in a big club, but sometimes working in a small club can be definitely of advantage.
And it's something you spoke about earlier on, the communication piece. I suppose the two big roles of any analyst's job is both design and implementation. What are the big considerations taken aboard in your new job when you've gone from, grand designing these things in theory, then trying to implement them in practice?
Well, I think it's always a combination of doing the analysis, the video analysis, and then trying to design also training sessions in order to implement these tactical principles. We try to use video analysis before our training sessions in order to already explain what we want to see on the pitch before the training sessions. And then we just try to refer to things we already mentioned in our analysis on the training pitch. And I think connecting all these aspects together is something that is really important in order to make the players understand the importance of certain tactical principles.
Yes, and although they might understand the importance, in most instances, Max, you never really get 100% buy-in. Have you encountered any certain situations over the past season where you weren't getting buy-in from managers or players alike?
Well, of course, there are always moments when you realize that certain things do not really work out in a way that you wanted it to. And that's where we try to stay as flexible as possible. Sometimes you do not have the time to correct things on the training pitch. If during the first half things went wrong, you only have the second half in a game in order to correct certain things. That's why we sometimes also changed formations during the game. That's why we sometimes adjusted players' positioning during the game, and that is something really important too, of course.
And I suppose no young analyst could ever be prepared for taking their debut in a hot seat at the tender age of 24. If we are going to speak about that day this season, Max, when it happened, in the build-up to the game, of course, you knew the manager was going to be suspended, and that would be, in fact, you on the bench that day. Building up to the day and then the game itself, Max, was there any sense of feeling that this is something quite unique, and this is just another day at the office?
Well, I think it was only after the game that I realized it was something that unique. Because before the game, I didn't have that much time. We had a week where we played on the weekend, and then the next game that I coached against Osnabrück was, I think, on a Tuesday. So I only had like 2 days, also 2 days with a team in order to prepare them for the game. So there was not really enough time to think about it, which was, I think, really good for me, because I just stayed within the focus, preparing the game, doing the opposition analysis, and preparing the match on the training pitch with a team. I also have a head coach here who really, has a lot of trust in me, which really helped in that position. And we discussed about several scenarios that could happen before the game, obviously, what would be the solutions, etc. So we definitely prepared it, but obviously you cannot be prepared for everything and every scenario. And obviously, with my age, I didn't have a lot to lose. I just went for it, and in the end, we maybe even had a bit of luck, but had a draw with an amazing game, and a really good game for every fan to watch, I think.
Because, as I'm sure you're well aware of, on football Twitter, so to speak, Max, when the news broke out in certain circles that a 24-year-old had taken charge of a third division game in Germany, people were like, wow, what the hell? But in fact, we've seen over the years in Germany that people are quite accustomed to this, and that there's such a culture and a stage and a platform for young coaches to make that breakthrough. Why do you think that's the case in Germany and in not so many other places?
Well, difficult to talk about other places because I don't really know how it works there with all the coaching licenses, etc. I think one fact definitely is that we've got some role models in Julian Nagelsmann, but also in Thomas Tuchel, who is really young as well. And that always meant for younger coaches that you can really make it into the pro game if you just give your best, if you just try to get better. I think these younger coaches in Julian Nagelsmann and so on definitely used innovative training methods as well, where we could learn a lot, where we could watch their sessions and take learnings from them. And I think a lot of those young coaches already start studying sports science just right after the A-level, meaning being only 19 or 20 years old. And I think that also helps having these studies besides coaching and football. And I think all these aspects combined allow younger coaches to have really good competences in order to coach a football team.
And it's something which we spoke about off camera too. I think the German education system has a lot to be said for it. I mean, we've had Christian Dolberg on this podcast 3 times, and Christian's at Hoffenheim. We've spoken about Nicholas Bühler, who's at Stuttgart. I've had several conversations with both, and now yourself. And to be fluent in 2 languages, German and English, is no big understatement. And I certainly think it does everything really to enhance the education, personal development, and the coaching education, which is already in plain sight in German football. But if you don't mind me playing devil's advocate, Max, and having had a recent call with Christian and obviously doing my own research on the issue, there's been a bit of a backlash from some people, certain people in German football, some that are well known, familiar ex-Bayern Munich player, I may add, about laptop coaches. Obviously, given your own background in YouTube and Twitter analysis, what would you have to say against that?
Well, I think it depends because I think every coach has his own style, and obviously a coach who is only able to use his laptop won't be a good coach on the training pitch. So I think you really have to make differences between the analysis side of things, working on the laptop, but also working on the training pitch. And I think we've definitely got a lot of specialists here in Germany. And I think, the most challenging task in a coaching team is that everyone can work to his strengths. And obviously, everything is needed. And of course, Christian Streich is someone working at Freiburg, and he is definitely someone who works with video analysis as well, although one would never say that he's a laptop coach. So I think there's so many different needs when you really want to coach a team on a high level. Yeah, that you cannot only be a laptop coach and cannot be only good on the training pitch, but you rather have to combine all these things.
And do you ever foresee a date in the near future, perhaps, Max, where this sort of stuff is kind of quashed? This debate is quashed, really, because it's kind of nonsensical for starters in a way, but it seems to have gathered some legs, and most notably in the past few years.
Yeah, well, we'll see. But yeah, I think that combining these areas will be the challenge in the next years. And probably there will always be people who talk bad about certain aspects of football, about certain ways of coaching. And I think that with the new generations of coaches coming up, not only in Germany, but I think also in other countries, that with all these new generations of coaches, that the debate will somewhat go away with time, definitely.
And speaking about the future, I mean, what does it have in store for you? Are you inspired, Max, perhaps after your coaching debut this year to take to the bench again at pro level? Or do you foresee a lot more longevity, perhaps, and analysis side of the game?
I definitely really like both. And I think it's really important to work in a coaching staff where you can work to your strengths, as I already said. And I definitely like working as an assistant coach in the way I do at the moment. I could also think of working as a head coach, definitely within a coaching staff. But it's always about taking responsibilities in order to improve and in order to learn. And at the moment, I can really take a lot of responsibilities here, being an assistant coach. And I think it's not something common and not something that you can do in every club. So I'm very happy about my role at the moment. But of course, coaching, maybe also even coaching youth teams as a head coach is definitely something I can also do in the future. But I'm not sure about it, and I haven't really made up an opinion about it. It's always about taking the responsibilities within the coaching staff and working to your strengths.
And for those of which are very much inspired by listening to you in this conversation, Max, me being one of them, what advice would you have them going forward in the future to embark upon a journey such as yourself?
Well, I think the most important thing is having passion for doing it. I started working for a really small club, coaching a youth team, and I didn't really earn money with that. I just did it because I had a lot of fun, and that's how I got into analysis, because I just wanted to improve. I just wanted to understand the game in a better way. And I think the passion is something that I've never lost. And that is something really important, because if you do something without a passion and just try to work towards a goal, then probably you will never reach it. And being passionate about it is something really important in my opinion. And then working for smaller clubs, taking all opportunities that you have in order to improve, trying to do the coaching licenses, trying to communicate with a lot of other coaches is important too. In my opinion, I didn't really improve doing these licenses, but I definitely improved talking to all the other coaches who have got different ideas about how football works, about football tactic and coaching. And that is something that everyone can do, communicating with other coaches and trying to work on your own philosophy. And that is definitely something independent of age.
Peer-to-peer learning still remains undefeated, even in the 21st century. Max, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. We wish you nothing but the best of luck for the upcoming season. And it's been great having you on. Hopefully we can get you on for round two in the near future.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.